Hello everyone, this is Simple Math for you and today's lesson is Systems of Inequality. أهلا بكم في Simple Math for you ودرسنا اليوم هو أنظمة المتباينات. How can we solve systems of inequalities by graphing? A set of two or more inequalities with the same variables is a system of inequalities. System of inequalities or نظام المتباينات هو مجموعة من متباينتين أو أكثر لها نفس المتغير XY أو XYZ أو إلى آخره. طيب كيف نقوم بحل المتباينات؟ في الايكويشنز في المعادلات في أنظمة المعادلات كل الرسم لحل المعادلات، ولكن الآن في المتباينات هناك طريقة واحدة فقط وهي الرسم. سنقوم بحلها بطريقة الرسم. Let's start by this exercise. Solve systems of inequalities by graphing. The first inequality is y less than 6. The second inequality is y less than x plus 3. What is the procedure that you are going to follow to graph the inequalities? We have to start by graphing the boundary line. Graphing the boundary line is the equation that represents the inequality. For example, here, for y less than 6, the boundary line is the equation y equals to 6. So we will start by graphing this line, but there will be a difference. Before you match your line, you should decide whether it's a dashed line or solid line. يعني قبل ما توصل هذا اللاين هترسم الايكويشن عادي، لازم تقرر إذا كان لاين مقطع أو متصل. متى يكون ذلك؟ If you have greater than or less than only بدون يساوي without equal sign, then the line will be solid, dashed. أما إذا كان يحتوي على less than or equal, greater than or equal, then the line is solid, متصل. Solid means the points on the line are part of the solution. Dashed means the points on the line are not a part of the solution. Remember, in the inequalities on the line, we were putting an open circle to indicate that the point is not included in the solution. For example, here, this is x greater than 2. And if we want to include the 2, we put the equal sign. Here, because we are graphing lines, then we will consider the solid and the dashed line only. So let's go back to there is one more, but let's start by doing the first step. So first of all, let's remember what is the graph of y equals to 6. Y equals to 6 is a line, horizontal line, and this horizontal line is passing through 6, 0 slope. So we will actually graph a dotted line or dashed line. This is y equals to 6, but not including the 6. There is one more thing to add here before we go to the inequality graph. We complete the graph, which is the shading. Because here we have graphed the boundary line. إحنا رسمنا بس الخط الحدودي. الآن ما هي المنطقة التي تكون less than 6? Why less than 6? Common sense says that less than 6 mean all the values that are below y equals to 6. So we expect that this is our region that we are looking for. All the y's that are less than 6. Less than 6. If it is more, it's above the line. So below the line. We are shading here below or أسفل الخط. This is inequality number 1. Let's move to inequality number 2, and I will use another color. Let's use orange. The second one is y more than x plus 3. And we will graph first y equals x plus 3. We will use all the techniques that we have discovered before. For y equals x plus 3, we can generate our table with 2 points only. So assuming x 0, y equals 0 plus 3 is 3. Assuming x 1, then 1 plus 3 is 4. And remember, before we match, we have to decide whether it's a dashed line or solid line. هو مقطع أو متصل. طبعا لأنه greater بس فقط بدون equal, then it is a dashed line. So we will put the points 0, 3. This is 0, 3. And we will put 1, 4. This is 1, 4. And then we will use the dashed line to match. This is our line. And now we will shade either below or above the line. As you see here, we have y more than, it's more than, and since it is more than only, and there is positive y more than, you should expect that is above the line. So we should expect that our shading will be above the line. Sometimes it is difficult to decide, so we will take test point. Let's start by test point. What is the test point? When you have this orange line, the line of the second inequality, it divides the coordinate plane into 2 planes. قسمت لي النظام الإحداثي إلى مستويين. واحد فوق وواحد تحت. One above the line and one below the line. How do we know where to shade? Then you choose a point not on the line. Choose any point not on the line. So I will choose, for example, this point, which is, what is this point? 2, 0. So the test point I have chosen is 2, 0. What will I do? I will replace in the inequality, which is this one, the original inequality, sorry, this one. So we have y more than x plus 3, replacing y by 0 more than x is 2, so 0 more than 5. Is this inequality true? Of course, no, it's false. 0 is not more than 5. That means the shading will not include this test point that I have chosen. إذا التضليل مش هيشمل هاي النقطة لأنها أعطتني inequality متباينة خاطئة. إذا سأضلل المنطقة الأخرى. And this proves that what we have done was the correct shading. So that means there is an orange shading and the blue shading. Where is the solution? The solution actually is the region that includes both shading, overlapping, the intersection, المنطقة اللي فيها اللونين، المنطقة التي تحتوي نوعين من التضليل هي منطقة الحل. So our solution in this case, we can simplify that our solution is this region where both colors are there. If you do use a graphing software to make sure that your solution is correct, I am using Desmos application. Let's use Desmos application and check whether we have done the correct job. This is Desmos. I have graphed both inequalities that I have done manually. And as you see here, we have 2 regions, one in blue, one in red, and this is the correct region here. Actually, this is y less than 6 and y more than x plus 3. And this is the correct region as we have expected. Okay. Okay, let's see here. You can check whenever you want to check that your inequality is correct. Let's take another example. Here we have another inequality. Y is greater than or equal to 0. Y is greater than or equal to 0 means we are focusing on the x-axis because this is y equals to 0. This is the x-axis. When I matched the line, I used solid line. And now the shading will be above the line because it's more than or equal to 0. So I will shade over there, shade above. Y is more than or equal to 0. أكبر من. So أكيد في أعلى الخط. Okay, let's move to the second one. Let's choose another color. The second one is y less than or equal to x minus 5. You can also use the slope intercept form if you don't like the table. You can start by the -5, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. This is the starting point, is the y-intercept. And then you will move up 1, right 1, according to the rise over run. And this will be your line. Before you match, قبل ما توصل, make sure that it's a solid line. And now we will match. And when you match, you are ready now to shade. If you are not sure where to shade, actually it's below the line, definitely it will be this area, but let's make sure using the test point. Let's choose any point here in this region, let's say here. Choose an easy point. I will choose test point. Here we said below. Let's check whether our guessing was correct. Our test point will be, let's say 3 and 0. And let's replace here. This is your x, this is y. So y less than or equal 3 minus 5, 0 less than or equal to -2. This point gives me a wrong inequality. That means I will not shade above the line. I will shade below the line. And this is what I have done. So where is my solution? This is the region that includes both. Shading is my solution. This is the solution. Remember, I will not solve the system of inequalities algebraically. I will just will use graphing. Let's move on. Here we have two inequalities and we will number them. Number 1, number 2. Number 1, y less than or equal to x plus 10. If you rescale it to 4, 6, 8, 10, you can start by y-intercept 10, moving up 1, right 1, and you will match your line. Of course, it's a solid line because there is an equal sign. Where to shade? Below the line. Remember, if there is a minus here, then you should reverse it. Instead of below mean less, that means you are shading above the line. Here we are shading below the line, so this is my shading. For example, sometimes you will find something like this. Don't tell me that you are shading below because it's less than or equal. Because there is a minus sign here, it will reverse the idea. Instead of below, it will be above. That's the proof that using test point might be a safer idea for you. And then moving to the second inequality. Then moving to y-intercept, which is 2. And if you go rising up 6, so you will reach the 8, running 1, you are here. And this will be your line, and it is not solid. It will be a dashed line. So I will convert this into dashed. You might have one dashed and one solid. No worries about that. Now, where is the shading? The shading for this inequality is above. So I will shade over there. Where is my solution now? The solution is the overlapping المنطقة اللي فيها اللونين. This is the solution. Last one, no, not last, before the last one. Here we have very easy. You can take it as an exercise. You can use table here. If you choose, let's say, -5, -5 plus 10, 5. If you choose -6, it will be 4. So -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -5 will be with 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the first point. And -6 will be with 4, somewhere here. And this is your line, and it will be a solid line. The shading will be above. Okay. Moving to the second one. Let's take a table. If you assume x0, 0 minus 3 minus 3. If you assume x1, 1 minus 3 minus 2. 0 minus 3 is here. 1 and minus 2 is there. It is a solid line. And this will be my line. Okay. How do the line look like? They are parallel lines. We should expect that the lines are parallel. Why? Because here the slope is 1, here the slope is 1. But we cannot say that there is no solution unless we shade. Because we are not looking for the solution of equation. ما بنقدر نقول no solution مع انه ما بنقدر نقول ما في حل مع انه هم خطان متوازيان لان الميل متساوي. But we need to shade. لازم نضلل اولا. Y less than or equal. If y less than or equal, then the shading will be below. Now, is there any common shading? في مشترك؟ في تضليل مشترك? No. So in this case, we have no solution. Now, sometimes if this one is more than or equal, the shading will be here and there will be some common area. So not necessarily to have no solution of the lines originally were parallel lines. Okay, here we have like a special case, we have y more than 2 and the boundary line is y equals to 2. It means it's a horizontal line passing through 2, but it's a dotted line or dashed line. So this will be y equals to 2 and not including 2. And then we have more than. So the shading will be above. The second one, if you remember, it's a vertical line. This vertical line passing through -2. So the boundary line is x equal to -2. You go to -2, and this is your vertical line. And it's also dotted line. Now, where to shade? If x is equal to -2 but less, so the shading will be here. And it is very clear here that the solution is the region where both colors are available. So here, this is my solution. Now, here the inequalities are not ready to graph. However, they are easy. I mean, you can graph using x-intercept, y-intercept method if you like. We have inequality number 1. Either you can convert this to that side, and many students prefer that. And you can convert this, so it is y more than -x plus 2. And then you can proceed as we have done before, or you can use any other method to graph. So if you prefer this way, let's go for that. Now, the table here can be by 0 and 1, 0 plus 4, 4, 1 plus 4, 5, and we can generate another table here. If you assume x 0, 0 plus 2, 2. If you assume 1, -1 plus 2, which is 1. So let's graph the first one. If you use red color for the first one, 0 and 4, 1 and 5, and remember, it is dashed line. So I will go to the dashing option. And this is my first line. The shading is above the line, or you can choose test point as well. Here. This is the shading of the first line. If you want to choose test point, let's choose a test point here to make sure that we are good here. Let's choose test point. We can choose, for example, this test point. This one is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, and 0. For this one, I'm using -6 and 0. So 0 more than -6 plus 4, 0 more than -2. Yes, it is. So of course, yes, the shading is including this point. Let's go to the next one and I'll choose another color. Let's choose the blue or dark blue. Here, 0, 2 is the stable, 0, 2. Second one is 1, 1, which is this one. And before we match, make sure it is a dotted line. Go to the dotted option and we will match. Shading is above. So the shading is here. It's very clear that the solution is this area. Right? It includes both colors at the same time. You can also use test point if you like this idea. Okay.